everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to finally do my favorites video for October. I think I didn't do one for September and I can't remember if I did one for August. It's just been so busy and sometimes I don't get to do art, or sometimes I do a lot of art but it just gets very busy with other projects, and October has been very busy with commissions and therefore I haven't had a chance to film a favorites video for you. But today I definitely want to share it because I have been really active in my own artwork as well, and so I have some definite watercolor favorites that I want to share today, as well as a few pencils which I will leave to the end because today is technically Friday watercolor video, so watercolors will be dominating. Okay, so let's start with watercolors. So keep in mind the art that I'm doing, I'm just going to show you quickly, is the colorful landscapes. So this is the color palette that I obviously enjoy working in, and so the colors are quite vivid and vibrant, but I can play around, and although I can create more autumnal, slightly more earthier color mixes, they're still vibrant. So that's how I like working, and this is the palette that I will be featuring colors from. So this is my colorful landscape palette. There is a video now available to watch on my channel, which I'll try to link up here somewhere for you. So let's start with my first color. So the first color in the palette is actually from my own handmade vegan watercolors, and this is chartreuse. So if you're new, then I will explain to you why I have created a palette called Ultimate Palette, which houses 5 colors. So there are these beautiful colors: chartreuse, quinacridone gold deep, strawberry velvet, cobalt teal, and green gold deep. So these are mixes that I enjoy using, and they have an exact tone that previously I would have to take a color like, say, green gold and then mix it to be that specific tone. So these are ready to come out of the tube, so I don't need to mix anything. They're gorgeous. Also, the strawberry velvet is quite unique to that palette, but let's go back to chartreuse. So chartreuse is a very vivid, juicy green. It's not to be confused with a spring green, which is a little bit more on an acidic side, so you won't really see the difference here, but basically there is a watercolor that I don't have to hand that is quite similar to this color of the pencil. For chartreuse, I like it to be on a yellow side but still very juicy, so it's not too yellow, not too acidic, and therefore that perfect middle point. So that's my first favorite. Next one is green gold. I've used this color very often. So in fact, all these colors I'm showing to you throughout the months of October, I have been using them very often, and we're now in November and I am still using them pretty much in like almost every single illustration that I'm doing. Then we have, so this is Daniel Smith green gold. Next color that I have been using a lot is a rich green gold. So this is also by Daniel Smith, and it's a gorgeous mustard color. So it's got loads of vibrancy and luminosity from yellow coming through. I absolutely love it, straight out of the tube like that, or pan, but also mixing it in as well. Next color I have used a lot of is my cobalt teal. My cobalt teal is on a sort of leaning towards green more than blue. So some cobalt turquoises or cobalt teals, although technically they're supposed to have green in them, they're still leaning more towards the blue, and they still call them teals or turquoises. So I like my teal and my turquoises to be leaning to green, but still not like a green, you know? It's not a green turquoise. It's very hard to describe colors because everyone has such a different connection to a color, and the way I see color is very specific, so I hope I do them justice. So next one we have is Cascade Green. So these two colors come from that Ultimate palette. Cascade Green, I'm just trying to find, I think it's this one here, is also Daniel Smith, and it's a very unique turquoise type of a color. It granulates and pigment separates, which by the way, so does my cobalt teal. Once it dries, you can see that separation into greens and blues, and the blue speckles from the cobalt teal, they come through a lot more evident because of the general kind of greenish tone, if that makes sense. So then here we have lovely granulations happening and the pigment separate into beautiful kind of muddy greens and bright turquoises, but we'll see that later once it dries fully. Next color I've used a lot is Schmincke's Perylene Green. Yeah, so it's a very deep toned color and it's great for adding contrast. So when I want something really dark without needing to mix it, I just go to this color. It's a gorgeous grayish, very intense green. You can make it look black, in fact, if you really load it up. Next one is Quinacridone Sienna. So that's a lovely, I'm trying to think, that's this one here. So that's a lovely kind of orange color, and it really pops nicely up against these turquoises and green colors. It's not too kind of artificial orange, if you know what I mean, but it has a lot of pizzazz. It's super vivid, super vibrant, and gorgeous color to work with. Another one that I have been using a lot is Quinacridone Deep Gold, which I think is right next to it. So this one is not as orange. It's more of a yellow orange, so it doesn't have as much red tone in there as the Quinacridone Sienna does, but it's just beautiful. Another color that I started using and really have enjoyed is the Goified. So Goified has a lovely pigment separating and granulating property, and it is really nice to create those beautiful kind of hill or field textures without needing to do too much. So for example, if I layer a watercolor base, then I don't need to do as much pencil work in the end or over the top, because it already has that texture built in, if you wish. Okay, so this is the colors that have been consistently used throughout my artwork. But also moving on to some gorgeous metallic watercolors. So this palette is by Finetech. I believe they're a German brand, and they do, in my opinion, the best metallic watercolors. They're gorgeous. For one, the amazing benefit is that when you run out of them, you can just buy a refill and pop it back in like that, and you're good to go. This entire palette I've created myself. You can buy the palette for a few quid. I think it didn't cost me more than £3 something. I think it was under £4. And then you can separately buy the pens and arrange the palette as you want it. So that's what I've done. So the color that I have been really enjoying is this golden orange. It also has a little bit of that kind of I wouldn't say pigment separation, but it has a pink undertone, so you can see some pink in there as well as that beautiful kind of bronze. So it almost feels like the shimmers could be very similar to peach and golden orange, but there is like an undertone in there. I don't know how they created, whether they used two different types of mica or whether they used a different undertone. I have no idea, but basically you can see the pink come through here quite beautifully. So that's why I love it so much, because it's a very unique bronze or rose gold type of a color, and of course they layer so beautifully and creamy that you can get a very nice effect. This was golden orange. Now we're moving on to Indian summer. This is a very beautiful color, and I use these as little flowers, like meadows on the fields, where I then place my sheep around those little flower fields. So let's now move on to pencils. I'm not going to title anything just because I worry we're going to lose the light again. So let's dive into pencils. So I'm not going to organize them in any color palette, although maybe I should, because I do have a bit of a color palette going on here. So let's do it. Okay, so I've got a number of pencils here, some by Holbein, and then I've got Derwent Lightfast, I've got Luminance, and I even have a Polychromos. Now, I'll tell you about Polychromos when we get there. So let's start firstly with the Crimson. This is a beautiful color, really gorgeous, deep red, but it's sort of like warm with enough, almost like a marmalade, you know, when it has that bit of underglow to it. So I kind of really like it for that reason. It's not a flat color. So that's that. Next one is again Holbein, and this one is Burnt Sienna. Also gorgeous color that I've been using a lot. Most of these colors I use either for the, let me just show you again, these sort of trails on the fields, or I use them to add detail into the trees and shadowing and things like that. So obviously it depends what kind of watercolor I use to then match the color to it. But I have a little video where I share my favorite pencil sharpeners and then also talk a little bit about my pencil techniques in those illustrations. So this is the Apricot by Derwent Lightfast. Okay, I will have to try and edit the lighting because I just been waiting for like 10 minutes and the lighting is not getting any better, so we'll have to carry on. This pencil is green ochre and it's by Luminance. I have a very sharp point here which I use for the illustrations, but obviously when swatching don't need it to be that sharp. So it's a gorgeous kind of mustard but slightly more muted, but it has enough yellow in there, so I do like that. And then we have Moss Green, also by Luminance, another green that I have been using quite consistently, and it's got this beautiful, almost like a leaf green with a bit of grey or something, so it's not really a juicy green, but it's beautiful to use with adding dimension. So this is another great pencil, dark English green. It is going towards that peacock feather green, and then another one which is quite close to this one is malachite green, and this one leans towards blue. So both of them very gorgeous and very similar in that same kind of quality, just more blue and more green. So now we are approaching the Polychromos pencil, and I decided to pull out my modest Polychromos collection and start using the pencils, and I did it actually yesterday and I didn't enjoy it, although it's the hardest pencil, so it should be kind of like the best for that detailing that I do in my illustrations. But what I find is that it's all great for that kind of like thin line. That is amazing. So if I just show you these lines on the fields, these pencils are fantastic for. But if I want to then start shadowing, which I can show you. So this particular pencil I used here and I absolutely loved it with that combination of the purple. It's like a lilac-y blue, and the shadowing part is just not as enjoyable as when I use either three of those. So Luminance by Caran or Derwent Lightfast or Holbein's pencils. So the sharp line is good, the outline, and then when I start to pull the color slightly more lower, it's just not the same experience. And that's just my personal experience. I know that many artists love polychromos, and some people just use polychromos and no other pencils, which is, you know, each to their own. So it could be a great pencil for you, but for me personally, the way I work and the way I do things, oh, that wasn't great. I don't find it very helpful. As we're on the subject of favorites, I've got my favorite sharpener, and I will demonstrate it as well because this bad boy has just broken off. Okay, well, there's a problem with the tip that's just breaking off and getting stuck here. So see, these pencils, I don't encounter any problem with them like that. So the Holbeins, the Derwent Lightfast and Luminance are just my workhorses. Just in case you're new to this sharpener, I thought I'll explain to you how to open it because it can be a little bit tricky. So it shows to you that you lock it in the middle, and then if you shift it to one side or another, you open it. All it means is this plastic bit here, you just kind of lift it from the side. Do it over a bin because as soon as you do that, all the shavings are coming out. So I'm just showing it to you here. So it's coming off, and you can do from both sides like that. So you can see it got stuck there, and I've shaved and sharpened all of my pencils the day before yesterday, all of yesterday, no problems at all. So I'll go ahead and get this bit out of there. Okay, we're back in business, and let's try sharpening it. Number 2. Okay, so there is a problem with this pencil, and it has done it again. So a piece of the tip has broken off and it got stuck there again. So it's definitely a pencil problem. And I'm going to go now into a hand sharpener. And it's still happening here. So unfortunately, it is a terrible pencil. Oh, goodness. Okay, so this is the most bizarre pencil, and I no longer can include it in my favorites because I simply can't even swatch it. This is how short it is now, and every time it just keeps breaking and breaking, and I'm just giving up on that. It's just bizarre. But what a shame. I have to say, this sort of thing puts me off even more, using pencils that I haven't used in years, and then I find a color that I like, and then that happens. So it's yeah, it could be just a bad pencil, and I shouldn't judge the entire range of the pencils by that. So let's carry on with pencils that are great. So here we have the Apple Green by Holbein, another beautiful green. And then we have also Spring Green, that's the pencil that I mentioned earlier, by Luminance. So this pencil works beautifully for shadowing the chartreuse color. It's slightly dark, as you can see, which is what you want to create that obvious kind of breaking line between the objects, trees or bushes. And of course we have got Dark Indigo by Luminance. Beautiful pencil for great contrast. So these are my favorites, and I'm going to title the pencils and give you a lovely close-up of all the colors. Let's take a look at all these colors. And here we have my favorite watercolors of the month of October. We have got my own chartreuse, Daniel Smith Green Gold, Daniel Smith Rich Green Gold, again Cobalt Teal from my own colors, watercolors, Daniel Smith Cascade Green, Schminke Paraline Green, Daniel Smith Quinacridone Sienna, Daniel Smith Quinacridone Deep Gold, We've got Daniel Smith Graphite and 2 Fine Tech Metallics, which is Golden Orange and Indian Summer. Such a beautiful name, perfectly fitting for the autumn. And then here we have got pencils. So we've got Holbein Artist Crimson and Burnt Sienna. This one is Derwent Lightfast Apricot. And then we have all of these are Caran Luminance, Green Ochre, Moss Green, Dark English Green and Malachite Green. And then we have Holbein Artist Apple Green, and again 2 Caran Luminance Spring Green and Dark Indigo. So these are my favorites for this month. They're gorgeously, deliciously warm and luscious and comforting in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and if I haven't mentioned yet, my Ultimate palette is currently on sale, so do check it out if you're interested, and it is available on alyonacreates.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.